Well, good morning, everyone. This is John Craig. I'm your second day of the week host for Let Us Reason Together, and we've got a full house today. So, in fact, and we got a roar going on in the background with Simba. So
he was actually in tune with the music.
He was actually in tune. Yeah, with that's pretty cool. I like that. All right, so this is Let Us Reason Together. If you haven't figured that out yet, it is based off of Isaiah 1:18. Come now, let us reason together, says Yahweh. Though your sins are as scarlet, they will be as white as snow. And though they are red like crimson, they will be like wool. This is where we sit down, reason out current events, cultural shifts, and of course, this week's Torah portion. And we can either push back or push through. Nevertheless, if iron does not sharpen iron, we're going to sharpen some iron today. Sparks would never fly, let alone ever get a fire going. So without a little heat and a good midrash, how will our hearts ever get soft and moldable enough to be transformed in the way that the Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, wants us to be, and maybe have a little fun along the way? We're going to have some fun today. I've got a packed show with all sorts of things in here. You don't want to miss one segment today, including the intro, because I've got all sorts of stuff there. But first, I want to introduce here with me today my beautiful bride, Miss Sandi Craig. Good morning.
Good morning.
Are you alive? I
am.
And kicking?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Don't kick.
You made me kick this morning.
Don't kick. Don't kick. All right. And then we've got a special guest joining us from the great state of Ohio, Miss Jo Cameron. Good morning, Jo.
If I can get myself up here. Good morning. Good morning. Right. Good morning.
It's good to see you. And we're missing Daryl today. So you get to be Mrs. Daryl. No, you're not Mrs. Daryl.
No, there's Daryl.
Jo Cameron.
See Daryl? Hey, there's Daryl.
All right. We got Daryl. My name's Daryl. This is my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl.
I see squirrel.
Do y'all remember that? The Bob Hope show or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Love that show.
That 3 Daryls. Can you imagine? I guess.
I think it was 2 Daryls.
No, it was 3 Daryls. Yeah. Because this is my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl. That's when Mom called. They all showed up, I guess. And Mark Smith.
The birthday boy.
I have to interrupt. No, it was the Bob Newhart.
Bob Newhart.
And it was Larry. And this is my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl.
So I was right.
Larry, Daryl, and Daryl.
I was right. I was right.
I have an excuse for that, but for another day.
You know the rule.
You've heard that that saying. They said it at my daughter's wedding, that the reason the bride stands on the right is because she is always right.
That held out true, let me tell you.
You're on my right today.
It holds out true.
Okay. Goodness.
Then you know I'm right.
John, you're in trouble when you got Sandi and I together.
All right.
Joe and I are a team, but so are Mark and I. So are you and I. We got teams going on.
Hey, so we got one big team. All right. So this is Monday, September 9th, 2019. It is the 9th day of the 6th month of the Hebrew year 5779. Some people call it the month of Elul. I am my beloved's and he is mine. So we are here. It's interactive. We'd love for y'all to interact with us in the chat room. I see Tova in there. Boker Tov, Tova. It's good to see you in there, and everybody else that can join us. We'd love to have you. Hey, so we've got some weird and quirky celebrations today.
Besides Mark's birthday?
Yeah, that's one of our weird and quirky celebrations. But we have Silence Day. It's Silence Day. Can we all do silence? That's really bad air. It's really bad air if we do silence on the air, right? So you can practice silence on your own today, but it's Silence Day. It's also National Split Personality Day. So what'd you say? I don't know. What? Are you talking to yourself? Of course I am. All right. That's weird. That's weird. I always knew this one thing, that how do you know there's the first sign of insanity is? It's hair on your knuckles. So you know what the second sign of insanity? Looking for the hair on your knuckles.
I thought the first sign was just the simple fact that you were born. Period.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Okay.
All right. It was in my family. If you were born into my family, forget it. You're they say it's clinically insane straight off.
Oh, you have not met my family.
Well, I just, according to the way the political winds are blowing, that anybody that has a faith in Yeshua can be probably classified clinically issued. I don't know, something like that. How about this? It is also riddle making day. So riddles, anyone? Riddle making day. I got a riddle for y'all. I'm gonna ask this to Sandy. A riddle for Sandy. No, you can't look at this though. All right.
I don't do riddles.
All right. Here's a riddle.
I'll answer for you, Sandy.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
All right, Mark. Here we go. The more you take, the more you leave behind. What am I?
The more you take, the more you leave behind. Toast. The more you eat, the more crumbs fall off the toast.
In your beard.
And if you're driving or if you're walking around eating toast, you're leaving crumbs everywhere. So the more you take, the more you leave behind.
Okay. All right. Well, Mark.
Does Joe have an answer?
Joe, what about you? All right.
No, I don't. You got me stumped on this one.
All right. So this is the riddle. So the more you take, the more you leave behind. What am I? The answer is footsteps.
I just remember our son doing riddles. Remember, he'd be pretend like he was Gollum.
Yeah.
And he would do riddles.
All right.
Back in our old church where we're at now. Well, we'll be soon.
Yeah.
And
Well, that really
what about the egg?
That really only works though on mud and sand, because otherwise you don't leave really footsteps, unless you want to get into the whole spiritual
Water.
Well,
or walking in through water and leaving footsteps on the cement.
Okay. But you know that with thermal imaging, you can see your footsteps. Thermal imaging. There you go. Because they even say then someone was talking about the thermal imaging of where the Israelites walked through the wilderness. You can still see thermal imaging there.
No way.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. Someone I thought said that, but it seems kind of weird. This many years.
There would still be in the ground for that.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Okay.
The battery has been out of my thermal imaging pocket calculator for a long time. So
All right. Okay. So this is another quirky day event going on here. Sending cheesy short. Yeah, cheesy short. Sending cheesy short messages to loved ones day.
I would love to get a lovey message from my spouse.
What about a cheesy one?
Any lovey message would be nice.
All right. So Cindy,
you're not alone. Not alone.
So send cheesy short messages to your loved one today. All right. So that's what we're doing. So Mark, what type of cheesy message would you send to your loved one?
Cheese.
Honey, I love you.
Oh,
that's not cheesy though.
That's needed.
What about you, Joe?
I love you like a piece of cheesecake.
All right, that's cheesy.
Sandy,
Sandy, send me a cheesy message.
I'll send you a piece of cheese with a smiley face on it.
That's cheesy.
That's cheesy.
That's very cool, Sandy.
All right. It's also, we're going to talk about some.
Wait.
What
message would you send?
Yeah.
Right here.
I have a whole bunch of cheesy messages, so you're going to just have to wait because we've got cheesy messages.
Cop out.
All right. You're going to
cop out. That's to the whole world. That wasn't to me personally. I don't believe it now. It's too late. If I have to force you to do it, it doesn't work.
It's also Wonderful Weirdos Day. So if you just think that I'm weird, just look at Joe. No. Wonderful Weirdos Day. She's ready for the puppet show.
She's ready for Sukkot. What are we talking about?
There we go. And it's close, but it's also National Teddy Bear Day. So when you're done with the weirdos, go hug your teddy bear. Oh, and then you know what's happening this month? We're still celebrating National Velociraptor Month, right? But it's also National Head Lice Prevention Month.
Eat it. Whatever. Eat it.
Okay. All right. So weirdo. All right.
Mark's being a velociraptor.
All right.
Run, Boris.
Run away. Okay. Daily quotes for Monday. Positive quote of the day from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Nothing external to you has any power over you. Think about that. And funny quote of the day. So
wait, Mark's thinking. Hold on.
Okay. All right. The thinker. All right. I want y'all to just think about this. The funny quote of the day. It is from a man's name that I don't like to repeat because I don't think he's very funny.
You do it all the time.
But anyway, it's from Woody Allen. I just don't like Woody Allen.
But you say his stuff all
He
the
says,
time.
I'm awash in self-contempt.
And nothing's ever funny.
Not funny.
Why do you keep quoting him all the time? And he's not funny.
Because he's on my list.
Get him off your list. Don't quote him anymore because you say it with a dud every time.
Somebody needs to tell Woody Allen he's not funny.
Somebody's sitting out there just laughing their head off.
I hope so.
Yeah, Woody Allen.
Woody Allen, that's right.
Find a different funny quote site. Do not use him anymore because it is not funny, John.
Okay. Whenever Woody
Go
Allen
to Monty
pops up,
Python and do Monty Python quotes.
no, you're dead. I'm not dead yet. Okay.
Hey, I have some news.
Yeah.
I cut 3 inches off my beard.
I can tell.
Whoa.
Wow.
3 inches.
Right. You're kind of squared up, like.
But
It's now it's square.
Your hair's on each side.
What?
Your hair's on each side, so you have this little shelf, and then your long flowing hair.
He's got wings.
All right. Cool.
Sandy and I have exactly the same hair. Hers is curly and mine straight. That's we
do.
Yeah.
Brother and sister from different mothers.
Yeah. That's why we do shows together, is because of our hair.
I'm glad she doesn't have a beard.
That's right. I'm glad she doesn't either.
And love quote of the day. This is from Eva Gabor. So, all right. So,
cool.
All right. So Eva Gabor, she knows about love quotes. All right. So, love is a game that two can play and both can win. Right? And both win. Actually, it's not can win. It's both win.
It's not super lovey.
Love is a game that
Darling, she had too many husbands. She don't know what she's talking about.
That's exactly right.
All right. That was
She
TV.
didn't want to live in the country. She wanted to live in a penthouse.
Right. So,
yeah.
Green Acres
is the place to be.
By the way, the entire series, the whole show from beginning to end of Green Acres is all on Amazon. So if you have an Amazon account, you can actually go in there and watch Green Acres from the first episode.
Is it to pay though? Is it Prime or is it not?
It's Prime. Yeah, if you got Amazon Prime, and also Petticoat Junction is.
I remember Petticoat Junction. As a kid, I loved that. Yeah.
Yep. It was great. We're watching them right now.
So while we're talking about this and we're talking about different things, because we're going to be talking about the Torah portion, we're going to be talking about current events, we're going to be talking about all sorts of different things, especially cheesy sayings, and we're going to have throughout the show, we want audience participation, and in this audience participation, we're going to slip in a word, and if you remember on the Only Visiting This Planet show, they would slip in a word to be the word of the day. And if you can figure out what that word of the day, then you're going to get
acknowledgement that you got the word.
That's right. So y'all be paying attention as we discuss things today. If you hear that word pop up and you figure out what it is, stick it there in the chat room. We would love to see what our responses are. So just let you know. Okay, verse of the day. This is from Matthew 24:35. And I like this verse. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. I like that. Okay.
Hey, John, real quick
Yeah.
before you go on, did you hear the news that just kind of came out real early this morning about California and China?
No.
Have you read that?
No, I
Really?
haven't.
Okay.
He was asleep, Mark.
Huh? Oh, he was
He
asleep?
was late to the war
Okay.
room. He was
All right,
sleeping.
let me do this. I'm going to do a screen share real quick.
Okay.
And show you this. Then I'll read you the story. From Washington, D.C. After months of growing trade tensions between the U.S. and China, leading to an impending global recession, along with mounting strife in China's Hong Kong province, prompting dissidents to wave American flags, U.S. President Donald Trump has negotiated quite possibly the biggest deal of his life. The U.S. will trade the entire state of California for Hong Kong in a flat exchange. Basically, everyone in California wants to be commies, and Hong Kong wants to be American. So we did what we call a win-win-win and traded the two in a tremendous deal. Trump said in a press conference announcing the unprecedented deal. Marcus responded with a complete turnaround from recent declines and posted record numbers. Californians and Hong Kongers were dancing in their respective streets. Californians happy about the one child only policy and being run by the Communist Party finally. And Hong Kong happy about being part of the free world once again. I'm gonna tell you that is that's a big story.
That's a big story.
Uh-huh.
Well, thanks, Mark.
You bet.
Right. Yeah.
Do we want to discuss that, or
what was your source on that one?
Carol Scott?
Carol Scott. Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. Cool. All right. So that's what's happening on this day in history on 2019, 9/9, 2019. All right. How about some other things that happened on 9/9? And that is in 1776, Congress officially renames the country as the United States of America from the United Colonies. How about that on this day in history? Did you know that?
I'm still on Mark's story, man.
All right. Go
for it.
Hong Kong has been, of all the different things that are going on with Hong Kong, absolutely, China is really a nemesis, and they're just like encroaching upon them, sending in their troops. They're actually, this is what I heard, they're actually putting some type of, not phosphorus, some type of dust on the protesters so they can pick them up when they're leaving and follow them, because the protesters have been doing stuff with the cameras and stuff so they can't see their faces, know who they are. Isn't that horrible?
Evil.
Yeah, it is evil. How about this? 1945. Y'all are going to love this. Did you know bugs in computers and that type of thing? In 1945, the first bug in a computer program was discovered by Grace Hopper. Did you know that? It was a moth that she removed with tweezers from a relay and taped it into the log.
Well, I have to say, I liked her name, Grace Hopper.
Yeah. It's true. All right.
That was Dennis's mother.
I got that from the internet. And then in 1993, there's something else. People sometimes we forget history. This is interesting. Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization exchange letters of mutual recognition. Did you know that? That they have mutual recognition, and yet today, if you listen to the news, there's no mutual recognition between from the Palestinians of Israel. So, yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's 1993.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Arafat was a Christian too. So, hey.
I think we can look at the word and see that Israel has always had its nemesis in the people that surround them and try to take their land, which really in this day and hour is Palestine. Of course, we're going to get the people that say the Palestinian people are the true Israelites. And anyway, but hello, people.
Yeah.
Nowhere in history.
All right. Okay. Whose birthday is it today?
Mark's.
Mark David Smith.
Happy
Born this
birthday
day
to
65 years
you.
ago.
Happy
And
birthday to you.
What year would that be there, John? What year would it be that I was born in, John? Come on, John.
1956. Is that it? Is that right?
Try again.
1954.
Sí, señor.
Okay. All right. See,
Es muy gudo.
I knew it was somewhere
Muy
in that
bien.
neighborhood. Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Hey, sorry to interrupt you again, but Sandy brought it up, and I want to discuss this Palestinian thing that she was talking about. Do you mind?
Oh, let's talk
It'll
about
only take a couple of minutes.
it.
Okay. Yeah. I gotta think of it because I haven't told this story for a long time, but it's something that most people don't know. And go on. We'll come back to this before we go into Torah. Let me come back to this because I got to think. It's been a while, but it's a very interesting story. You guys need to hear about the Palestinians. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Other birthday. The other birthday that everybody's going to recognize is it's the birthday of Harlan David Sanders. Do you know who that is? Harlan David Sanders. He was a businessman and restaurateur. He was an American. He was born on this day, September 9th, 1890 in Henryville, Indiana, United States. Does anybody know yet
Yes.
who Harlan David Sanders is? Colonel Saunders.
But you want to know something? This disgusting commercials that they have on now for Kentucky Fried Chicken with this obnoxious Colonel Sanders, the fake one, it's just that it's obnoxious. I
know the guy's name, and yeah, his whole comedy career is being obnoxious. Norm something.
It turns me off. I mean, it completely. All I want to do is turn off the television.
Yeah, I agree.
Or whatever. Whenever it's just ugh.
Oh, I won't eat their food anyway.
Yeah, well, they should find a different advertising.
Norm McDonald is the guy's name. Dr. Scotty's rolling over. Never mind. He's never mind.
Well, I tell you what, just going back to Zsa Zsa Gabor, this is what Moses said in the, just to change the subject here, before we get too deep into
Zsa Zsa Gabor, yeah.
Yeah, we got to go to these cheesy things that people say. And did it go on there? All right. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I believe in large families. Every woman should have at least 3 husbands.
Oy vey.
And many children by each one. Toby, you left that part out.
Look at him.
Okay. All right. So we go. Okay. So talking about the cheesy stuff, we're going to go on the lighter side of issues if we haven't been already.
I want to go back to my story about the Palestinians.
Okay. You ready?
It's my birthday. So,
it's your birthday.
It's your birthday and you'll cry if you want to.
We don't want Mark to cry.
Okay.
Can I just share something real quick?
Yeah.
It connects with your birthday.
No.
50 years ago today, my mother became a U.S. citizen.
Oh,
so it's her birthday in a sense. So it coincides with you, which I thought was really cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
It was announced this morning. I said, "Oh, cool." I have to call my mom.
You notice I got this kind of like hair front thing going on there, kind of like Mexican women have, where they just come up and over. Anyway, never mind. So there's, and I don't remember what year it was, but it's a story that really didn't make it to the world news or anything. But I can't remember what year it was, but there was a time when the president of the United States and the Sheikh of Islam and the prime minister of Israel were gathered together by themselves trying to work out some peace deal or something. And in the middle of it, God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appeared to all three of them in that room and talked to them and told them, gather your people together and tell them that I am going to destroy the world in 3 days. And so, of course, they're all freaked out and everything. And so the president gets on TV and president of the United States, and he says, people of the United States, I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is that there is a God. He's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The bad news is he's going to destroy the world in 3 days. And the Sheikh of the Muslims, he gets on his what's that network that they do? I can't think of the Muslim Al Jazeera network. Gets all on there and he says, people, I have bad news and I have bad news. The first bad news is the real God of everything is actually the Jewish God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not Ishmael. And the other bad news is he's going to destroy the world in 3 days. And so the prime minister of Israel, he gets on their news service and everything, and he says, people of Israel, I have good news and I have good news. First of all, the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob has talked to me, and he is real. The other good news is there will never be a Palestinian state.
All right. Well, we have a special guest sitting in our chat room right now, Mrs. Donna Smith, and she says, my birthday song to Mark. On the day that you were born, I'm going to put it on here. On the day that you were born, the angels got together and decided to create a dream come true. Aww.
You're loved, Mark.
Yeah, I don't know the tune, but that's what it says. All right.
Love you too. And that's not cheesy. They told me it wasn't cheesy.
That was not cheesy. Okay. That was sweet. There we go.
I love you like a piece of cheesecake, honey.
So now we're going to do some cheesy things. All right. Jumpstart our brain. We're going to, okay. I know the time's flying by. The time is flying by. Okay. All right. So here's some cheesy things. If you don't have a cheesy thing to say to your loved one or whatever, or maybe you don't have a loved one and you just need a flirt line, okay? Or a pickup line. Here's one from Asian Thunder said this. Are you my appendix? Because I'm not sure how you work, but this feeling in my stomach makes me want to take you out.
Oh, that's awful.
That's really cheesy.
No, it's the
I'd run.
Run very fast. Run away. Okay, how about this? I'm a firm believer in the idea that you get what you give. So here's my number. That's
good. Yeah, that's good.
So want to get somebody's phone number. All right.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Just a reminder, boys out there, don't use this stuff. It don't work.
If you were a vegetable,
or use it and let us know how it works.
Okay. Let us know. Send us a line. Send us a note. It didn't work. Okay. If you were a vegetable, you'd be my cucumber. All right. Okay. How about this one? Excuse me. Would you like some wine to go with this cheesy pickup line?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Use it. Okay. How about this? I could tell you a bad joke about a pizza, but that's a bit cheesy. I'm not flirting. I'm just being extra nice to someone who is extra attractive.
Well.
How about this one? First, I played hard to get. Now he's playing hard to forget.
Now Mark is doing that for you because he's your friend.
Okay, cool. Oh, about this one. I seem to have lost my phone number. Can I have yours?
Okay, Mark's funny.
All right. And then, the
That
next
was
one,
actually good. I like that one. Yeah.
my first name and your last name would sound great together.
No man would touch that because marriage to man is like, ah! No way.
I think that's what
Yeah.
girl says to
If I were the girl, I'd say, "Get on your knees right now, boy." Good.
All right. And here's a cheesy birthday greeting. Age is something that doesn't matter unless you are a cheese. Okay. All right. So I think we need to be moving on to the next segment right now.
Well, I want to address something. And
Okay.
this is, Sandy said earlier that you were funny around other people, but not around her. So if you want these jokes to be funny, you need to get her completely out of somewhere else in the house, outside, something like that. Then she won't be around and you'll be funny. It's just a simple fact that when she's there, you're not funny. She said she spoke it into existence, and now you got me preaching. You got to watch your words.
So it's my fault.
And she spoke it into existence so that every joke you said after that really wasn't funny because she was sitting right next to you. So from now on, first part of the show until we get into
Put a new co-host. I'll step down.
That's why when we're having these on the air shows and I say something.
Are we on air right now live?
Yeah, we're live. And she laughs. That's why I make the comment. I made my wife laugh. I can still make her laugh. So, all right. But I'm around other people.
Your whole goal in life is to make her laugh. I know. See, I already made my wife laugh one time, so I'm fine.
You're set.
I'm good for the rest of my life.
I'll tell you how you can make me laugh.
That's a good woman.
Do your dances on air for me and let us all see it. I will laugh.
Oh, you mean like the one that I found on YouTube? It just popped up on my feed.
What did you think of that, Joe?
It popped on your feed. Oh.
It just, you guys discussed it. It was really funny. And all of a sudden I'm like looking through my YouTube and this pops up and I says, what the heck is that? So I played it.
It says Pastor John moves it.
That was in my younger years.
I sent it to my parents. I don't know what they have to say.
You sent it to your parents. She sent it to her parents.
It's funny. It's funny. Everybody, Pastor John moves it.
Let's watch it.
We should. Oh, Mark, if you could pull that up, that would be so great.
Well,
it's on my Facebook.
She can do it. She can do it. If you got it, or you can see it.
Hold on, I'm going to get it right now.
Okay.
It's on my Facebook.
I'll walk you through it.
Oh,
it's good. It's a birthday present to Mark and all of the world.
You're probably going to show the corn maze too.
No, they don't know about that one, but now they do. He bursts a piece of corn.
Were there children involved? Because they already did a movie about that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So
all of these activities occurred at our old new church.
So tell us about that. Are you guys going to back to the old one, or what's up?
We're going back to our old facility plus, where we wanted to expand before was open. So we've got our old facility plus the place beside it. So
and that's all going to work out for you.
Yeah. Yes.
Sandy. Yes, that's all going to work out for you, Sandy.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I had a moment last night. I was telling people this morning where I was panicking again, and
Well, you got to live what you preach, girl.
I do, and I took my thoughts captive. But there was a moment. But we were able. the people that worked yesterday got a lot done, but there's so much more. And like I said, we honestly don't know where the Brad Scott conference is going to be. Is it going to be in the old? Is the church that's there going to give us permission to use the facility for that weekend? And if they do, we've got to transport all of our sound equipment in there, which we have a 100-foot snake that's going over the 22-foot ceiling. So we got to pull that out. And
How you doing, Joe?
I'm looking. I'm on the YouTube history, so I can pull it up.
So
too many people put stuff on my Facebook page.
Okay.
So
I'm glad to hear it, you guys. That that's been taken care of. So
thank you.
Keep your confessions right.
All I can say is that where one door was closed, another door was opened up. And one of the amazing things is that we're not the only tenant that is facing this. There's tenants.
There's a lot of tenants.
There's lots of properties, lots of people renting, and they're all faced with the same thing. And so everybody's going to be scrambling for good places because the rents are going way up. And we were able to jump ahead of that. And this one is just like this closed. We made the phone call and this one opened up. I mean, it was just like one door closed, the other opened up, and we're on our way.
I know a God that does that quite often.
He did. Yeah. And he does.
And part of that story was that I was like, well, I need to call Barbara and see what she knows, if she knows anything in town. And then Sandi sends me a text, call Barbara. so we were like backing on the same page. And
what was really neat yesterday is the one area in our entryway at our current facility, you come in and it's an old movie theater. So there's this huge area. There's the refreshment area, which is like in the shape of a U, but we have this living room set up where we'll have Bible, Torah studies and things that are simple during the week. And it's like a living room and it's so comfortable. And we have like cafe tables all around. And we went ahead and moved all that into the facility last night and sat down, and it felt so good. It felt so good. And then our dance leader led some dances in our new facility in the second part, because we can't go into the sanctuary fellowship hall area yet. But
okay. Yeah. I get it. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So Joe, did you find it?
No, I'm not.
Oh, bummer.
To Life of Worship Amarillo.
Yeah.
Or say, all you have to do is go to my site, Life of Worship Amarillo.
Well, then you go to your site, bring it up.
If I get on, it's going to mess up the feed. And
it will. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have actually been pretty good today.
That's because I told him there can be no devices on but one computer.
Okay.
So,
all right. Well, if we find that, we'll come back to it.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into the Torah portion segment. We'll go into that. Sandy's got that.
I'll make it brief. I'll make it brief, but it's for Mark.
Yeah.
This Torah portion, Mark. Have you ever seen Ice Station Zebra? With
I have. That's really old.
It's really old. It's a 1968 adaptation of Alistair MacLean's Ice Station Zebra. So the movie is not that. It is something else. But anyway, this is for you because I'm doing movie Torah. Because in the movie, this guy is supposed to be a Russian defector, Ornish 9 Vaslov. And so he says, man, I'm here. How are we supposed to trust you? Well, I chose to be one of you. These are not direct quotes. They're paraphrase quotes. I chose to be part of the United States, and you guys were born into it, et cetera, et cetera. But it turns out that he honestly is a Russian spy. He's a double agent.
Uh-oh.
He doesn't know where he belongs, and he gets killed. Uh-oh. Spoiler. Okay. So he's ultimately killed in the movie. But it's because he gravitates between two opinions. He gravitates between two things. He doesn't know who he is. And this Torah portion is all about our own identity. Do we understand who we are? It has 74 of the commands. 74 of the 613 commands in this Torah portion. But so many of them focus on our relationship with each other. It focuses on us as a people, as a nation, how we're supposed to treat one another, and what happens when we don't follow him. And ultimately, it doesn't matter. For even the rebellious son, we had somebody get upset over a comment over that commandment on Shabbat. But really, it's about those who walk who refuse to walk in faith, those who refuse to walk in him. And so they're a person of two kingdoms. How many people do you know that like to keep their foot in the world and keep their foot in Torah even? I know a lot. You still play around with the world. You can't serve two masters. It's either all God or it's the enemy. But this guy, Ernest Borgnine, Vaslov, tried to serve two masters, sort of start playing underhandedly, yes, but isn't that what we do? And ultimately we find destruction. And because we've got to remember whose we are and which kingdom we belong to. And so we see also how we treat our brother, how we treat our neighbor, how we treat the captive woman, how we muzzle the ox. All of these things are the treatment of one another. And it's throughout the whole Torah portion, guys. The whole Torah portion is about relationship. In fact, in the chiastic structure between, I think, chapter 21 through 23, the chiastic structure there is love your neighbor. And that's what we see. Honestly, though, we're a people who is so self-centered or not much beyond our own family that we forget that it's not really about us. It's about the bigger picture. It's about his kingdom. It's about his nation. How do we become a people that stops being so focused on self? Because we're so busy preserving self that we forget Dorian's hit and decimated a community. We forget the kids in Africa, like at the orphanage Halissa is supporting, that was on the prayer list. We forget our brothers and the strangers right outside our door that are suffering for one reason or another. And we miss out on the opportunities to be that salt and light for them. And we lose our own saltiness because we're so inwardly focused. And when we're inwardly focused, it shows our selfishness, which leads to the rebellious son, which leads, because we're in two kingdoms there. We're just like Ernest Borgnine there, focusing on really in two different ways. And the rebellious son, he's supposed to die because he's been warned, he's been told, he's living a life for somebody else, and that spreads. And it's a selfishness on our part. Even that goes back to, refusing to discipline our own selves, our own sons and daughters, our brothers and sisters, because we are brothers keepers. And discipline, how does that mean? You know what? The big saying around, at least in the Western society, is, that's their business. Let them do what they want. But that's really not what the word says. The word says, we're to be salt and light. Sometimes we go before our brother, we confront them. If that doesn't work, we take a small group. If that doesn't work, they go before the congregation. Or at the very least, we should speak the word out of life, remembering that, as demonstrated in this Torah portion, it's not just about us. It's about a community. It's about a nation. It's about those who we may not even know. And yet we walk around with our head in the sand, focused on ourselves, not realizing who we are, not realizing that our role is far beyond me. Instead, that's our song. And ultimately it will destroy us, because we'll fall into the trap of losing our own sons and daughters in the generation that comes next, because we're just worried about us and not considering those around us in the society. So how do we change that? How do we change that mindset? I don't know.
My response to that is that, and I just looked it up, Revelation 2:4 says, nevertheless, I have somewhat against thee, because you have left your first love. Stop and think about going back to when we first got the revelation, when we first found out so much that we had all this hope, we had all these things that we loved about our walk with the Lord and everything. But then as time goes on, we notice that it's not the big supernatural walk that our minds led us to believe. Like, it's not all, we don't see all those big, huge miracles and powerful things that we read about in the Old Testament. And we start compromising because what we thought would happen in our lives either didn't happen as we thought it would or right away. They eventually did happen because all the things of God are going to happen, or we asked for the wrong things, not really being taught what we should be doing in our own lives. For instance, this Thursday, if I have a segment on the next chapter, I told Sandi that I want my segment to be called As Soon As. And you can just take that. Anybody that knows the Word of God, knows what we're talking about, can already figure out what I'm going to talk about. But it's the same thing. We start compromising and getting to points in our lives where we didn't see these things happen either like we thought they should, or we didn't understand or something, so we compromise. And so we start going back to things that we once did away with. And of course, we all know all we need is just a little bit before it starts getting heavier and heavier and heavier. So that's my answer to what you're talking about is that compromise. Also, the Brit Hadasha goes along with what you're talking about when we get to that. So anyway, that's my take on it.
All right. Okay. Joe, what are your thoughts?
Well, Sandi, when you were talking about this, I was thinking about how when we first get married, everything's all woo, wonderful, woohoo, and all that. And that the years start going by, and some people sit there and they go, "What happened? I think I fell out of love of this person because of all the good feelings, the butterflies, the cotton candy and all that stuff." And so they start to seek out other things for happiness in their relationship, and they don't realize that it's a growth issue. And to me, one of the answers is that belt of truth. And we talked about that last week on the next chapter. That belt of truth, when it's tied around that tunic, which is part of your flesh, that flesh is not in the way, and we're able to do what we're told to do. But when we don't have that belt of truth tied tight enough, it causes us to trip, fall, or get tangled into our fleshly desires and our fleshly manners. And in fact, the belt of truth also, which I didn't bring up last week, it's also a chastity belt to keep us from going back to doing the idolatry that Israel did, and why the father had to divorce them. So, we need to remember all that, because this is like a marriage situation, and we keep forgetting that, and we need to remember that. And love is not just about butterflies and unicorns and cotton candy. It's work. It is work, and the Father wants us to work at it, and we forget to do it. We've become lazy, and we forget our brothers, and we are part of a family, and family's supposed to help one another. And we're also in an army, and in an army, one soldier doesn't sit back and say, well, everybody else is going to do it. They get together and they do it in unison, and we forget all these things. And we need to remember these things and start doing it, and stop whining about, your backaches or whatever. Start praising him, because you're going through it, and there's other people that are probably in worse shape than you are. And I've learned that from my brother, who he's almost completely blind, and instead of complaining about it, he sits there, he says, God's given me this opportunity to learn Braille and start teaching people Braille, and he uses his Bible to use Braille. So he's ministering through this upset that somebody would focus on as something bad, and we need to remember not to do that.
Very good.
All right. Yeah. Good.
Sorry.
All right. That's good. I like that. Well, I'm going to let that be the last comment then for this part of our show today for the Torah portion. And did we get that video pulled up?
Yeah, I've got it. If you want me to.
All right.
Joe, do you mind if I show it?
Go for it.
Do you want to?
Do you dare show it?
Sure.
Show it.
This is it's Mark's birthday, so embarrass John.
Sure. That's right.
We want Mark to laugh. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not you.
I don't hear anything. Is there sound?
No.
Oh, okay. I got that on. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. It was there. By the way, we're going to get a copyright infringement because of the sound.
Oh yeah, because it has the music.
Mute it. There's no sound playing though. I don't hear it.
No, but that's okay. We can watch him
There
move.
is. I'm listening to it.
Yeah, there's
It's
no
not
sound
coming
on our
through?
end. No.
Look
Oh.
at John dance.
But
Yeah.
look at him dance. You don't need the music. Just watch him dance. Sandy, I am going to videotape him if he dances during Sukkot.
Well, I'll give you the sound. Move it. You like to move it, move it. You like to move it, move it.
You like to move it.
Like to move it,
John
move
is
it.
dancing.
You like to move it, move it. You like.
Oh, I haven't seen this in a long time.
I'm loving the commentaries while it's muted. This is good. Oh, look, he's wearing a veil.
They gave me something for my head. I got
That
really-
little girl now has a baby of her own, and she's married. Well, anyway, so long ago.
She's like, "Why am I in this film? It was supposed to be about setting you up."
Anyway,
Like, can I leave? You're embarrassing me.
you know, these kids, what they did is we were there. We were just having an evening together. Many people from the church. We were playing Joker and doing some things. And these little girls, they came up and they said, "We have a show for you." And they were trying to do their show and they were going to sing and they were so scared they couldn't do anything. So John jumped in and did all of that to try to get them so they could sing their songs. And because they even came down and they gave us tickets as we were sitting there. Here's a ticket so you could come to our show here. And then they froze. So Pastor John went down there and saved the day for him.
You would fit in with my family very much so, John.
Hey, look, Mark. See, I had long hair once too.
Let's back that one up. Freeze frame.
Dun, dun, dun. Anyway.
Yeah, that was a birthday.
Did you make
Birthday.
me
Birthday.
Uh-huh.
I don't know which birthday it was. Oh my
Uh-huh.
goodness.
You know, all that stuff's in the old building.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just youth stuff and young adult stuff and Pastor John being weird.
John Craig, this is your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Oy vey.
You brought
Thank you.
joy.
Thank you for the chuckle there. I appreciate that. But that's
Okay.
good. Oh, you're good.
All right. So on we got to jump into the next next segment.
Shorten it.
And this has to do with something much more serious. So
Lena, that was John.
that was me. Back
In
in the
his youth.
back in the day. That was probably about 10 years ago or more or something like that.
It's probably about 10.
Yeah. When I was a younger man. Okay. And so this week's current event, I just wanted to bring this up.
11.
All right. So this is something that actually broke over the weekend. And I first picked up part of this over at newswars.com. And I found some other articles to kind of back it up. And this is something that's been going on. It's actually been dragging out for 2 years, maybe since 2015, even. It's been going on for quite a while. And so the article that I picked up was over at investmentwatchblog.com. And besides the article over at newswars.com, and it's where Planned Parenthood employee admits to trafficking in baby body parts. And I thought this was really serious thing that's going on. I wanted to put it on the table. So we're going to take off our funny hats and put on our serious thinking, because we really need to know what's actually going on in the abortion industry. Some of you may be aware of this, but this has actually come out in the court. They actually have statements made before the court. So these are legal statements that have been put out there. They have admitted in the court of what they're actually doing, what Planned Parenthood is doing, and in the abortion industry. And this involves a gentleman and another lady. I'll have her name in a minute. His name is David DeLayden. And there was a preliminary hearing for pro-life activist David DeLayden that kicked off on Tuesday morning in the San Francisco Superior Court with testimony from an abortion technician, a third trimester abortionist, and a vice president of the National Abortion Federation who testified she doesn't know what a human tissue procurement company is or does. Well, I think she's lying through her teeth on that, and I think that's coming out in the court. So what's happening is that the National Abortion Federation, she did testify that she recognized a company by the name of STEM Express. Remember that name, STEM Express. It is a human tissue procurement lab exposed in DeLayden's undercover videos that is now under federal investigation as a repeat vendor of her for-profit organization. So it's her for-profit organization, and she says she doesn't know anything about it. So the NAF is a third-party abortion trade group. And the 9-day hearing is the first time Planned Parenthood leaders and affiliates have publicly gathered and testified in court since DeLayden Center for Medical Progress published 11 undercover videos featuring Planned Parenthood leaders discussing and in some videos displaying the harvesting and selling of aborted fetal organs and tissues. DeLayden and his colleague Sandra Merritt face 14 criminal felony accounts of eavesdropping and 1 count of conspiracy. The case marks the first time charges of eavesdropping have ever been made in California. During this hearing, the judge will determine if there is a probable cause DeLayden and Merritt committed a crime, and if so, will schedule a date for trial. Separately, the hearing for the civil case against DeLayden and Merritt will be held September 30th. So not only are they being charged criminally, they are being sued.
Okay, but that doesn't make sense. The crime is the selling of the tissue, but they're going after them, but not the.
So it's even more than this.
Not the babies. That tissue's wrong.
Okay, so going on about this is that it has not been made public until they actually had these videos and they actually put it on YouTube and they got the word out that it had not been made public. But now with court testimony, these things are actually being made known. So now these are being set before the court. So it is part of public record. It can't be say, oh, that's just a conspiracy. That's just they're just making this up, or they just, they kind of set it up to get these people to talk. No, this is now set as testimony before the court. What happened here is.
I think you need to read that up there. Go. Planned Parenthood abortion providers appeared under oath in court today and admitted supplying the body parts of children in the womb for the profit brokers.
Like STEM Express, DeLayden said Tuesday. Meanwhile, the vice president of the National Abortion Federation denied any knowledge of the gruesome trafficking of fetal body parts, despite hosting STEM Express as a major vendor at the trade shows. Yeah, they have abortion industry trade shows. The first day of testimony confirmed that we have been saying all along this is a biased attack on the First Amendment civil rights and a political prosecution to shield Planned Parenthood from accountability for their crimes against women and children. So let me break it down what's going on here. What they have come out and they have testified before the court is that in the Planned Parenthood, they're bringing these women in and they say, we're going to do a certain procedure. But in the middle of that, they actually they'll do a different procedure without the consent of the woman. So part of it is they'll take this baby and they, instead of bringing the baby out with the head first, that's where they do the partial birth abortions, where they'll stick in the instrument and they'll suck out the brain, collapse the skull.
They tear the baby apart.
And there's other parts where they'll tear the baby apart. But what they want to do is they want to preserve the organs of the baby as well as the tissue as much as they can. I know it's gruesome. This is very gruesome. But instead they'll actually go in and they'll turn the baby to make it breached and bring the baby out so that they can preserve the head, so that they can have what they call like a cranial preservation. of the baby, because there's certain dollar amounts that are put on the parts of the baby, and they can make up to $300,000 to $400,000 on these babies. And if they can deliver the baby live without the mother's knowledge, they will actually take the baby, they'll resuscitate the baby, they'll go and they'll put it in a different part to preserve that baby who is alive. This is coming out in the court testimony, and this is what's come out in these hearings. They will preserve it, and they will take those body parts and use those live organs for organ transplants, including heart transplants, that within the same facility, within the same hospital, maybe just 200 or 300 yards away, there's a baby waiting to have a heart transplant, and they're taking the aborted baby's heart and removing it, taking it across the building, and putting it into another baby.
To later kill.
So they're killing one baby to preserve the life of another baby, because it is just whatever they want to call that horrible baby. It is a horrible, horrible thing. This is coming out. It is in the court testimonies. So what these people are facing is that their undercover work has actually everything about it. They've been stifled. They've been the court has told them they put a gag order on it where they couldn't talk about it. There's a whole timeline in this article about the different things that they've been facing, including RICO acts, this type of thing. There is a fund set up to help them out. But part of this is that they have been charged with a fine, where the Ninth Court of Appeals has ruled to let stand the $195,000 fine ordered by a federal judge to cover the legal fees and costs of the National Abortion Federation, to cover legal fees and costs for added security due to the video's release. Because of this, because the truth is coming out, now they're afraid that they need to protect themselves, have more security. So they've had extended costs. The court is making these whistleblowers pay the fee, and the Ninth Circuit Court has held that up. There's some other things that are going on. You can follow up on that article over there at what was the name of the place I got this? investmentwatchblog.com. So I wanted to put this on the table. We talk a lot about pro-life issues here, but this is something I wanted to talk about because this is horrific. And there's several more days of hearings going on. They start again today.
I think what Tova said, some people would see this as life above all else, but it's obedience above all else. Transplants and stem cell, etc., is denatured tissue in someone else's body. Awful, diabolical, and people accept it.
Think about this. This is one of the things they're doing with these aborted babies. They'll take the very skin cells and melt them down, use it as collagen for cosmetics, for putting into women's tissue, their face, whatever, their lips, whatever, to inject that for cosmetic purposes. They use these aborted baby tissues as well as the organs and stuff. So I want to put that on the table. This is more on the kind of the gruesome things of life going on, but we needed to talk about this so people can know what's going on, because we need to be a voice for the unborn. So do you have some other thoughts about it? Mark, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, sounds like, earlier we were talking about how we let the things of the world and things that are around us influence us on different things. I believe we are in a day when Hasatan knows that his days are short, and his big deal is to diminish our or the world's view of things being gruesome like that. And because of false news, and because that movies and TV shows and the media produce things that don't really happen, or produce documentaries of things that do happen, but they put a different spin on it, that the world basically, without the hope of God, without knowing the Word of God and having it within your soul and that be your life, without that, they have no format of life. They have no way to judge these things. They have no way to see these things. So they have lessened them. They have dumbed them down. And I believe for the most part, those in the world, once again, like I just said, that do not have the ability to take the Word of God and use it to understand what you just said, are just going to see it as, yeah, it's just another thing that's happening in the world. And like you say, people accept it, and it's just another thing that's going on. Where that is taking the world out of balance to the point where Hasatan and his world and his deception and off balance is becoming the norm, and God's norm is more on the bottom, and it's becoming more and more and more. And even those that do know God really don't use his words to understand the world around them. That's my take on it.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the complete devaluation of the human life. Joe, what are your thoughts?
You know, we as a nation and as a world have started to worship what we've created. You know, we look at back several years back when they used to do experiments on animals for shampoos and everything, and people stood up and said this isn't right. And now we have it to where they're taking babies. And I read also in, I don't know if it's the same article, but the other day that they were also told that they were keeping these babies alive. They would abort the babies and keep them alive for so long, and then take parts from them, like harvesting different parts. Like if a vein is needed, they would just remove the vein from this baby, but the baby would still be alive, suffering through all of this.
With no anesthetic or anything.
Exactly, because it's a thing, but that's their thought. It's a thing. It's a baby. And yet they will sit there and cry over, and I love bald eagles, and I know bald eagles are wonderful creation of God, but they will cry over a bald eagle egg that didn't develop right. Or they will cry over like in California, they had, I think it was a frog or a bug or something, that they stopped everything and you couldn't build there because we got to protect this bug. I mean, we have become so ignorant and foolish and we become to where we're worshiping the creation, and we are created in God's image. And I believe that this is to cut ourselves off of God the Father as a nation, as a world. The people are trying to cut themselves off and try to become God because they're trying to create different things. And we can get into the Crimeas and all that stuff, but we don't have time for that. But they do that. And also the main thing is, we talked about it in the Torah portion, self-centeredness. It's all about me, what I want. I don't want this kid. God blessed you with this child, even though you may have had this child conceived out of wedlock. It was a blessing. And so many people forget that children are a blessing and not a curse and not a burden. And it just saddens me. It really does. It doesn't just sadden me. It angers me that they do this. And these children are in these laboratories, because that's what it is. It's a laboratory. It's not a hospital. And they're being used as guinea pigs. And they're suffering through this. And the Father can hear their cries. And we need to remember that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Well, that's what I wanted to put on the table today. There was one thing I did want to say that actually we can kind of put a bookend on this, in spite of the fact that, you know, this whole abortion industry is truly the nemesis to the unborn. But we had a young lady that went on was it a march? Pro-life? It was a walk, pro-life walk here in Amarillo. And she talked about how 80 to 90% of those people that go into the crisis pregnancy center actually do not abort their babies. And so the fact of having these crisis pregnancy centers around is preserving life, because they actually tell these young ladies the truth, because honestly, they don't really even know. They've been so educated with the government schools and the media and all of that, that they honestly do not realize what is going on within their bodies when there's a baby in there, as well as let alone what the industry is doing to where they're going to be lying even to them, and what they're doing with those babies if they do go through with the abortion. So hey, let's jump into the next segment. And Mark, you have the Brit Hadasha for us today.
You always bring me in on the last 3 minutes to do the Brit Hadasha. What is up with that?
You have
well, I have longer than I have 4 minutes. Okay, thanks, brother. I appreciate that. Where am I? I don't know where I'm at here. Okay, well, I can make this real brief. The coming of the Son of Man, and I looked this up, and I actually had quite a little bit on it. But so immediately after, okay, Matthew 24:29 through 42. It starts off by saying, immediately after the tribulation of those days. If you start right there, it's like, what? Duh. What are you talking about? What tribulation of what days are you talking about? So I had to go back and I had to look. What tribulation are you talking about? And so I went back to 24:15. And it says, so when you see the abomination that causes devastation spoken about through the prophet Daniel standing in the holy place, that will be the time for those in Yehuda to escape to the hills. Jump over to verse 23. At that time, if someone says to you, look, here's the Messiah, or there he is, don't believe him, for there will appear false messiahs and false prophets performing great miracles, amazing things. Then you jump down to verse 29, and it says, but immediately following, and then David Stearns, it says, immediately following the trouble of those times. I don't know what y'all have for verse 29. And on, I don't remember what this, I don't remember what this is. Anyway, it's on Torah Portions, FFOD. Whatever they use is immediately after the tribulation of those days. And it's interesting to me because there are pre-tribulation, mid-trib, and after-trib people that believe in the rapture and all this kind of stuff. To me, when I read immediately after the tribulation of those days, it tells me that something else has happened. So all of this before this tells me it's kind of like the first half of the tribulation has happened. And I think for the most part, the four of us believe in more of a mid-trib, or a greater exodus, going back, the whole thing. I think that's what we adhere to. But if I read all of this and thinking that I was pre-trib, I'd have to be going, maybe I don't believe in pre-trib, And so anyway, that was kind of my deal. Is that as with all the other stuff that we've talked about and what Sandi brought up with the Torah portion, it's kind of those things that if you don't use this perspective, if you don't use the Word of God perspective to look at things, you're going to believe about anything anybody tells you. You just go with it, kind of thing. And now I would be remiss if I didn't quote Larry Norman on this. And I only said that to get a smile out of Sandi because John can't do it. And so I have to quote Larry Norman's song, I Wish We'd All Been Ready, which says, life was filled with guns and war, and all of us got trampled on the floor. I wish we'd all been ready. The children died, the days grew cold. A piece of bread would buy a bag of gold. I wish we'd all been ready. There's no time to change your mind. The sun has come and you've been left behind. A man and wife asleep in bed. She hears a noise and turns her head. He's gone. I wish we'd all been ready. Two men walking up a hill. One disappears and one's left standing still. I wish we'd all been ready. That actually comes from this portion. The Father spoke, the demons died. How could you have been so blind? There's no time to change your mind. The sun has come and you've been left behind. There's no time to change your mind. I hope we'd all been ready. You've been left behind. Now, you know, that is a pre-trib song. I get that. But if you are mid-trib, if you think that things are going to happen in the meantime before we go, it still works. And I wish we'd all been ready. So rather than compromising our walk and waiting for things to happen, as soon as this happens, then I'll do this type thing, then we'd all be ready. So that's my deal on today's Torah portion is that read the whole thing, get the whole idea, and make up your own decision. Don't just go by what somebody else says, because then you'll be living your life from their perspective and not your own perspective. Because there's going to come a day when you're going to stand buck naked in front of God, and he's going to say, so what did you do with what you had in front of you to teach you? And you're going to say, well, I led my life based on their perspective. And God's going to say, well, here's my perspective.
That's a good point.
Especially during this time of repentance and self-reflection and in Elul, we should be making ourselves ready.
Mm-hmm.
Ready for.
Well, yeah. And he says, I know, remember in the scripture, he says, I know you not. And they said, well, I did this, this, and this. Well, you did all those things, but did you get to know him? You got to know pastor or rabbi such and such and did what they said, but you didn't get to know me and what I said.
You know, that's
simple.
Yeah, that's really good. And one of the things, Mark, as you were reading through that, and I was going back and reading along with you, notice how he says, when you see the abomination of desolation, it's when pray that your flight may not be in winter on the Sabbath. And
that's right.
And it says, if anyone says to you, behold, I mean, he's actually saying you're kind of in the midst of all the middle of the stuff. You're not gone. You're not gone yet. You're there. And who's his audience? Well, he's talking to his disciples, of course, but of course it's recorded for us. We're the you. Uh-huh. We're the you in this. And and really that's kind of that direct it kind of reminds me a little bit about last week's Torah portion or the half Torah. But I'd have to look it up a little bit. But nevertheless, it's about, you know, it's about that that relationship that we have with him, that where Yeshua is speaking to Philip, and he says, you know, he who has seen me has seen the Father. How do you say, show us the Father? You know, it's one of those things. He's the one that set himself before us, that if we'll love him, he'll manifest himself to us. And if we'll follow his commandments, you know, and he shows himself to us, and otherwise we are following somebody else. We're just following. We might be all in the pack, but should we be following the pack, or should we be following the Messiah? And that's really key. That's a good point. Good stuff. All right.
I come up with them every once in a while, John.
Yeah, I like that. Larry Norman. I used to like that song. I just listened all the time. Like I had the Larry Norman album.
The Larry Norman album?
Yeah.
He wrote 500 songs before he was 16 years old.
I know. That was But that was the album I had. Was that one the one that I guess?
Oh yeah, and that's only visiting this planet.
Yeah. So, all right then.
Love it.
Well, hey, that brings us to the end of the show. I hope y'all enjoyed the show today. Mark, happy birthday! Did you enjoy being on the show for your birthday?
Did you enjoy John's dance for you?
Did that make you happy? Weird and quirky?
Made us laugh.
We only got the word in a couple times, y'all didn't even help me.
I
with the
did
word.
do it. I did do it.
You used the word?
Yes. You just don't. You'll remember. You only listen to. Anyway.
I enjoyed having Joe on.
Yeah, Joe was on.
Always good having Joe.
So
Feliz cumpleaños, hermano.
So since we just started this,
speaking in tongues now,
we're gonna keep doing this with the word of the day, slipping it in there.
Did anybody figure out what the word was?
Because I didn't use it.
I did, and you used it twice.
I used it twice.
Didn't at all. I completely forgot. We did this on Planet. We'd start off saying we're going to do this, and then none of us ever did it the whole show, and it was terrible. So here's my idea.
That's okay. We've already had questions on the show that Sandy and I are on, and we haven't even answered the questions. And I've got people emailing me.
So for all y'all who wonder what we're talking about, the word of the day, we slipped it in 3 times, was nemesis. Nemesis.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yep. All right. Well, with that said, hey, thank you, Joe. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Sandy, for joining us. Thank you all that have been part of us in the chat room today. Put in your comments.
Lena says Michael Jackson has nothing on you.
Yeah. Thank you, Lena. I feel good about that. Well, make it go viral. Who knows what'll happen? Share it on your Facebook page. And by the way, share this show if you enjoyed the show today. Give us a thumbs up and let's push those algorithms up. The algorithms help this entire network. The more we get the shows out there, the more we get people looking into what else we have here at the Lamb Network. So give us a thumbs up, share it on your social networking, and let the word know about the good word, the live programming, everything that we have going on here on the Lamb Network and MessianicLambRadio.com. So for those updates, go to MessianicLambRadio.com so you can stay posted on what's going on, and love to see you checking in every once in a while. So I am going to run over here and I'm going to do this. We're going to do it this time. So until next time, thanks everybody. Shalom.